Hey everybody, welcome to Yahoo Sports. I am Kevin Iole, and if you don't know this face by now, then you are not a boxing fan because he is one of the best fighters in the world. And I think he's getting into that situation where he's not only one of the best fighters in the world, he's beyond the pound for pound stuff. He's going to be one of the best fighters of all time. Terence Bud Crawford, the WBO welterweight champ. Terence, how are you, pal?
I'm doing all right.
Let me ask you about that. I know, you pay attention to those things. Who thinks you're the best? Do you feel like, you've kind of what you've done in your career to this point put you in that category where people should start talking to you about you as one of the all-time best welterweights as well as instead of just as one of the best active today?
Um, it's all opinion. You know, like I said before, everybody has their own opinion of how they view Terence Crawford and the type of fighters and the caliber of fighters that I've faced in the past. And you're gonna have some mixed emotions, mixed feelings, and that's okay. But me personally, I do feel deep down in my heart that I'm one of the best welterweights out right now.
No doubt. On November 14th, you're going to be fighting Kell Brook in the bubble at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. And let's start there. Kell Brook has had a couple high profile fights. He's a former world champion. He beat Sean Porter. He's had those two notable losses that people talk about. And to me, I wonder if he's ever been the same. I want to get your thought on this. When he fought Gennady Golovkin, he took a brutal beating in that fight. He moved up, and all credit to him for moving up and doing that. Then he came back and had a knockout against Errol Spence, where he got beat pretty badly. Just curious, your thought. Do you see a difference in Brook now from prior to, say, the first Golovkin fight?
Well, I don't know. I really can't say until we share the ring together. Given that he have had some time to recover, being that when he fought Spence, he came right from the Gennady Golovkin fight,
Right.
right into Spence months later, and I felt like his body wasn't prepared to lose all that weight, and it was already broken down from Gennady Golovkin to fight Spence on a back to back tough fight like that. Given that he had the time to relax and get away from boxing and to come back to boxing and get two victories, and I feel like he's in a different space right now than he was before he fought Spence.
It's interesting to hear you say that. People will use other words. Since we're a family channel here, I'll just say, he had a lot of courage. I mean, you fight Sean Porter is a tough guy to fight. You fight Gennady Golovkin, I mean, that was at Gennady's prime. You fight, Errol Spence. I mean, now he's fighting you. People say, he's not a good fighter. He's a mean fighter. Terence Crawford doesn't want to win. He wants to hurt you and take you out. And I think they say that in a good way. You got to give this guy a lot of credit for what he's done. I mean, the fact that, whatever his record is, he's taken on the toughest guys out there. You got to give him that.
Right, right. And he's no pushover. I don't think, a lot of people expected him to put up the fights that he put up against those fighters. A lot of people can argue and say that he was beating Triple G and Errol Spence before he got stopped. But who knows? Everybody have their own opinion how they score the fights. I never scored neither one of the fights, so I can't speak on that. But I just know he put up a good fight in each and every one of those big fights that he had.
I know you're one of the most competitive fighters out there, and I wonder if it extends to this. You're with Top Rank. Top Rank has a number of fantastic fighters. I think in my top 10, I think there's 5 Top Rank fighters, in addition to you. And you look at, Inoue just had a great performance last week. People were raving about him. Teofimo Lopez a couple of weeks ago, Tyson Fury against Wilder, and even Artur Beterbiev. I mean, a fantastic light heavyweight. Do you look at that, and is there like a little interpromotional competition? You look at what Lopez did and what Inoue did, and are you motivated to, okay, don't forget about Bud Crawford?
Not at all. Not at all, because I feel like, my place in the sport is already stamped,
Mm-hmm.
and sealed. Like, I don't compare myself to other fighters, what type of performances that they put on.
Mm-hmm.
I just congratulate them, and once I step foot in the ring, it is my job to put on a great performance each and every time that I step foot in the ring, and that's what I intend to do.
Awesome. What do you think is going to be the key for you against Brook? The style that he fights. I mean, what do you think you're going to have to accomplish to get out of there with your hand race?
Just be myself. Don't get caught up in his little games that he play, and just be myself and be natural and let it flow.
Do you think he'll? I mean, I know you're a really strong guy. But do you think he's going to look at you and say, I'm the bigger guy and maybe I fight a physical fight with him and try to bully you? And if he does, what kind of strategy do you think that would be?
You can try, he might, being that he's been all the way up to 160. He naturally is the bigger guy, but stronger, we don't know until we step foot in the ring with him. But one thing for sure, I do know is that he will be surprised once he's in the ring with me.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt about that. Terence, let me ask you, a couple weeks after you fight, Errol Spence is going to be fighting Danny Garcia. There was talk of you and Spence fighting, and then he had the accident, and that kind of put that down. So I want you to explain, because I know you said it before, but for people who didn't hear it, why you decided you don't want to fight Spence in his first fight back after the accident. Because I thought it was really interesting what you said. I agreed with it, but I think a lot of people may have missed it. So can you explain why you didn't want to fight Errol Spence in the first fight back after his accident?
Yeah, first of all, I respect him as a champion, and I wouldn't want to fight him if he wasn't at his best. Given that he's recovered from a crazy accident, I didn't want to fight him on his first fight back, given of the circumstances that if and when we fought, there would be an excuse for me beating him was because he wasn't the same fighter because of the accident. I didn't want any excuses. When me and him fight, I wanted to be number one versus number two. Both of them is 100% ready. Nobody's injured. Nobody's at their lowest point. And, the made or better man win, which I think is me.
I think that'd be a fabulous fight. I've had you two guys in the top four, top three, for a long time. I want to ask you, like his fight against Danny Garcia, that's a tough fight to take. I give him credit for that. I think, Danny Garcia, for some reason, is criminally underrated by a lot of people. I think Garcia is a better fighter than a lot of people give credit to. When you look at the fight, if we assume that Spence is healthy, and I know until we see him in the ring, we don't know. How do you break that fight down? Do you think Spence gets through Garcia, or, how do you see it going?
I favor Spence to get through Garcia, but I don't think it'll be any walk in the park by no means. Danny, he's a tremendous talent, and he's strong, and he's durable, and he can punch, and he can box.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting seeing how Spence take these big shots that Danny's going to be hitting him with, if he hit him with it.
Right.
We've seen Sean Porter land some heavy shots on Spence, and in my heart, I believe Danny Garcia hits harder than Sean Porter. And if Danny's landing those type of shots on Spence like Sean Porter, then we're gonna have a exciting fight to watch.
I look forward to that one. Do you feel like if Spence wins and comes out, that would be the fight you would say you would want to take next if you get past Kell Brook?
If the Pacquiao fight don't pull through, then yeah, that would be a fight that I would be willing to look forward to.
So you're going to probably not like this question, but I'm going to ask you anyways, because I of course, Senator Manny's one of the greatest fighters of all time as well. He's 41 years old, almost 42 years old. He hasn't fought in 15 months. Like, why do you want that fight as opposed to, whoever else? I'm not trying to tell you who to fight, but what's your interest in fighting him when you just said you didn't want to fight Errol Spence because you didn't want any excuse or whatever? Well, Manny, have an excuse if you beat him. I'm 42 years old. I hadn't fought in 15 months. Do you see that angle that could potentially come up?
I really don't care about that angle, given the circumstances, who he just fought and who he just beat.
Mm-hmm.
He fought Keith Thurman and looked tremendous against Keith Thurman. He fought Broner, looked tremendous against Broner. Those are two top welterweights in the division, you know, that he looked great with. He has a title, you know, and that will make me and Errol Spence fight even bigger than it would be without fighting him first. You know, it would be for undisputed, you know, and it would be, you know, the passing of the torch of Manny Pacquiao, you know, to Terence Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much at stake with that fight. You know, like I said, I've been calling for that fight since 2015. It haven't happened yet, and you know, it's still a possible chance that it could happen. We just, you know, waiting and wait and see. But first things first, you know, Kell Brook is the guy that's trying to stop everything in my plans, and you know, we 100% focus on Kell Brook right now.
And, you know, I hate to be Debbie Downer, but I have to ask this question, given, you know, Jamel Herring was in your camp and twice, you know, he had the COVID. What have you done to make sure as you're getting ready for this fight, that's a huge fight for you, that you don't befall the same fate? I mean, obviously we have our fingers crossed that does not happen, but have you taken any additional steps to try to make sure that you don't get exposure so that nothing happens with the fight?
Actually, not at all. You know, I've just been doing everything that I've been doing since I can remember. You know, I've had 2 COVID tests, and both of them came back negative. I had a COVID test in Las Vegas when I went to his fight, turned out negative. I take my vitamins, I boost my immune system, so that way I don't catch any viruses because my body is, you know, I mean, strong enough to fight them off. So I just keep on doing what I'm doing and make sure I wear my mask and stay away from people that's coughing and sneezing and washing my hands and making sure I don't touch something and rub my eye or rub my face. So yeah, I feel like, you know, I should be okay.
Awesome. Well, we want you to be okay, and we want you to be more than okay. We want you to be in that fight, ready to roll, because that's going to be a lot of fun. November 14th against Kell Brook on ESPN. Terence Crawford, I appreciate your brother. Good luck. Thank you for your time so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.